It's about the specifics of what you said. Now, on November the 4th, you said very publicly the economy had less cash than previously thought. I don't want to use the jargon, but it's a productivity downgrade for people who've been following it. Your message was plainly, sorry, everyone in the country, there's less than we thought, so I'm going to have to put your taxes up. That was not entirely true, was it?
In the spring, I had headroom of £9.9 billion. The OBR numbers show that it moved around, but in their final pre-measures forecast, it was £4.2 billion. I clearly could not deliver a budget with just £4.2 billion of headroom.
I'm asking you to address this question directly.
Yes.
On November the 10th, you told the BBC, sticking to your election promise not to put taxes up would require deep cuts in spending on long-term projects. We know now you'd been told you had an extra £4 billion to play with. It wasn't true to say that, was it? Was it a lie?
I didn't have an extra £4 billion to play with. There was a downgrade in the headroom from £9.9 billion to £4.2 billion. But I was very clear in that speech on the 4th of November. I didn't want to have less headroom. I wanted to have more headroom. And the context of the budget, the biggest thing that changed was a downgrade in the productivity expectation going forward, which took £16 billion. Without that downgrade, that £4 billion would have actually been £20 billion. So I had to ask people to contribute more. In the end, I was able to keep that as low as possible with freezing the threshold, not increasing the rates of tax. But I have asked people to pay more by freezing those thresholds for an additional 3 years. I recognise that, but I believe it was the right thing to do to be able to protect, particularly that investment into
Chancellor,
the National Health Service.
The Treasury very deliberately created the impression that you were going to have to put people's taxes up to fill a big gap in the public finances that simply didn't exist. Now, you put our taxes up by £26 billion, in part to, as you've said, increase that buffer, but also to spend an extra £16 billion on welfare. You misled people in the run-up to the budget, did you not? You said you'd have to do this because you were short of cash. The numbers we have now seen suggest that's not what you did.
No, I do not accept that at all. The OBR numbers themselves, which I agree with, and we knew they were going to be published, they are very clear that there was less fiscal space than there was just a few months ago in the spring. And we needed not less, but more fiscal headroom. And
but
being able
then
then
to... you didn't need £26 billion of extra taxes to fill that hole. I'll ask you again. The Treasury gave the impression that you would have to put our taxes up in order to fill a hole that we know did not exist. You put taxes up in part to increase the buffer, but also to spend £16 billion on welfare. Was it a lie when you told the country there'd be consequences because there were lower tax receipts?
The numbers that you are using shows that the headroom, the fiscal space, had deteriorated. That's exactly what those numbers show.
But not by nearly as much as you'd led people to believe.
And of course, that didn't include the policy choices that we had made between the spring and the autumn, including on welfare and including on the winter fuel allowance. And so, of course, those are decisions that were already made. I said when those policies changed just before the summer that we would have to find that money in the budget. So I was very upfront about that. And yes, I did make the decision in the budget to scrap the 2-child limit. That was funded by increases in online gambling taxes and also by cracking down on tax avoidance and tax evasion, fully costed and fully funded, and lifting 500,000 children out of poverty.
And isn't this exactly